part of the anterior chest wall is now retracted, and we're looking at the structures that are found inside the right chest cavity or the right chest compartment. So to review some structures, this is the parietal pleura, which is considered as the innermost layer of the chest wall. So any chest wall injury that will damage the structure is considered as penetrating chest wall injury. The space below that, or the space inside that, that will be the pleural space. No? We have here the lungs. So this is the upper lobe of the right lung and the horizontal fissure that separates it from the middle lobe. So this is the middle lobe of the right lung, and that's the oblique fissure that separates it from the inferior lobe. So this musculomembranous structure here, that's the diaphragm. Specifically, this is the right dome of the diaphragm. So below this one is the largest solid organ of the body, which is the liver. So this part of the pleural space right here, you can see it's a narrow angular space formed by the lateral chest wall and the diaphragm. That is called the costophrenic or the costodiaphragmatic space or recess. So when we say recess, we are referring to a space, no? And moving back to the mobilized part of the anterior chest wall, we have here the internal thoracic vessels once again. So distally, it will actually exit the chest wall, and it will continue as the blood supply to the anterior abdominal wall. The distal continuation of the internal thoracic to the anterior abdominal wall, that is known as the superior epigastric artery. That is a clinically important vessel, actually. So aside from the superior epigastric artery, the internal thoracic, which will also have branches going to the lateral chest wall, and some of those branches will actually supply. It will form as part of the blood supply to the diaphragm. So going back to the costodiaphragmatic space or recess right here, this is a clinically important space in pathologic conditions where there is excess pleural fluid accumulating inside the chest. So this space will be filled up by the fluid, and on normal chest x-ray, the fluid or the empty space, no? The near empty space, I'm saying near empty because it's supposed to contain a little amount of fluid. But in normal chest radiograph, the costodiaphragmatic space or recess should be clearly visible, no? As a dark angular space. But when there is increased pleural fluid, for whatever reason, the increase in fluid may be blood due to hemothorax, or it can be pleural effusion in cases of malignancy, or it can be pus during infection. So this space becomes blunted, or it disappears on chest x-ray. So normally it will take around 300 ml or 0.3 liters of fluid, no, to cause blunting of the costodiaphragmatic recess, no, before it can be detected, no, on chest x-ray or on chest radiograph. So let's go back to the anterior chest wall right here. I want to show you something. So this one, these are this neurovascular bundle right here. This is the intercostal van When we say VAN, it's an acronym, no, which stands for vein, artery, and nerve. At this level, you see it's near the costochondral junction. So at this level, we actually have the anastomosis, no, between the anterior intercostal vessels and the posterior intercostal vessels. No? So the nerve comes from the thoracic spinal nerves. So that's the intercostal VAN once again. So try to take note of its position. So the VAN actually occupies the groove that is present in the inferior margin of the rib. So for this particular intercostal space right here, no, this is actually the fourth intercostal space. So your VAN is closer to the rib above the space. We also have a very small, no, vascular bundle that runs close to the superior border or superior margin of the rib, but this is the bigger, no, vascular bundle. So when we perform procedures, no, where we need to penetrate the intercostal space, we make sure that we stay away from the VAN. We don't want to cause injury to the VAN. So when we stick needles or when we make incisions in our intercostal spaces, we stay away again from the lower margin of the rib above the space. We stay close to the upper border of the rib below the particular space. So the sternum here has been hemisected, no? Along its mid-sagittal plane. You can see the medullary, the inner medullary layer of the flat bone right there. The sternum is a flat bone. So let me go to the ribs. No? The cut segment of the rib, you can also see the outer cortex and the inner medullary area or region. So the medullary area or the medullary region of both ribs and your sternum is made up of spongy bone. So ribs and sternum are considered flat bones of the body. So the spongy layer, the spongy medullary area contains blood-forming bone marrow. Both in infants, no, or that applies to infants, children, and adults, even in the elderly. So flat bones of the body are active producers of blood cells. So due to its location, we can conveniently get a bone marrow sample from the sternum, actually. So in this area right here, we have the pericardial sac. So inside the pericardial sac is the heart. So this is the parietal pleura.